So you need to take your mind off it, and you'll find over time, and I did this on me when I went through the stuff I went through that I talk about in the book, by distracting myself with something completely different, it reduced the pain of what was going on. And by the time I'd kind of done this other thinking, the pain was so low that I was able to just kind of carry on as normal. So it's a way of distracting yourself. So it's still there, the thing's still there. The project, the project baddie, your boss, whoever, the stakeholder that's always picking on you, it's still there, but you're changing how you respond to it. So it changes the feelings that go with it. It's not easy to do, but
it's really interesting.
It's the only way you can really do it. So changing your response, reframing things, noticing what's triggered and not responding to that. If someone criticizes your work and you feel really defensive, don't defend your work, because it's just going to enhance the pain. So, you might think...
It's not going to change what they've said, is it?
No, it's still there. So instead of defending it, saying, you clearly don't like this, how about we go for a coffee tomorrow? I'll have a look at it and we can chat through it. And it will detract the pain, it will reduce the pain that you're feeling. And then you'll go for a coffee, and it'll actually be, they probably said it in a way that they didn't mean to, because they didn't realise it was impacting you that way, because people generally don't want to say bad stuff to you. So it will allow them to think. Or you can say, look, you probably didn't realise, but the way I heard this and it didn't make me feel good. They'll shift their response. And if you can do that, it will help that situation. But it will also help that relationship longer term, because you're kind of giving that person feedback without giving them feedback. So you're giving them time to reflect. You're not giving them direct feedback for them to get defensive. You're giving them the words and the space to reflect. Then they might go and go, oh, I really didn't mean to do that. It's clearly, I need to work on that. So it builds those relationships longer term. So it starts to avoid them happening again. It's hard to do, because in the moment you just want to go criticising my work.
It's interesting, because I've been in situations where I have gone off like a bottle of pop. A fizzy pop when something like that has happened, whether that's directly to someone or I just sat there rocking in my chair near enough, fuming, and I've seen my triggers again, and it wasn't directed at me necessarily, but it was at my team. And one of the triggers at that time for me was the fact that they said the team were being lazy in because they weren't doing it. Yeah. I don't think it was a risk register, but it was in that kind of process sort of thing where the guys were making priority calls on what was more important to do on each day. They're very busy. They were very overloaded, and they probably just thought, I'll do that later. And it just falls to the side. But the phrase that lazy, that triggered me, because for me, when someone says someone is being lazy, that means they're purposely avoiding work. And the team were busy. The team were working hard. They're doing long hours. So immediately I'm like, I'm, as you know, I'm quite a talkative person. I go very quiet when I go off. I either go really loud or really, really quiet. And I don't know which is worse. But I kind of withdrew from that conversation, and I've seen myself do that before now, and I've thought about it, about how I react. But even so, it's really hard to. I'm pretty good at stopping myself from going full in on it. It's very rare that happens, but I do end up getting in that regression and bury it inside me. And I think that thought of, because I was thinking when you were talking about there about you do something else to distract you, was an avoidance technique. But then, as you say, it's not about that. It's about that counting to 10 advice when you're angry sort of thing, but a bit longer, to give yourself perspective and allow yourself to respond rather than react.
Yeah, it is. That's the thing, because when you're triggered, your emotion takes over your logic, which is why we respond the way we do, shutting down, being verbal. You'll get that flood of adrenaline, and it happens before you realise it. And so just noticing that physical feeling can just give you that time to go, okay, I need to stop this and I need to think. And there's breathing techniques you can do really quickly that will just calm everything down. and then think, okay, it's probably fairness. So SCARF model stands for status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. So in that situation, fairness might have been triggered. You think this is not fair. The team are working really hard. Someone's having a go at them. They don't really know what they're talking about. And your response might be, that's not fair. So you're exacerbating that feeling of unfairness by focusing on it. And you're getting into that, and they're going to defend their stance. So you're getting into that. Whereas probably you have no desire to spend any time with this person. So it might be, so the least triggered might be relatedness, for example. And relatedness is like feeling part of a group or being left out. You don't care at this point. You don't want anything to do with them. But you could say, I can hear that you're frustrated. So why don't I talk you through what the team's been doing, and you can tell me what you think we should drop as a priority. And they're going to back down because they've just come out with something, and they are probably going to back down, or you talk them through it and they learn something, and it will shift their thinking. They'll probably back down because they probably don't want the conversation. So you've changed the environment of it, and you've shifted their response. And when you stop, it's really hard to do because you have to stop your response. You have to like hack your brain almost to get your logic back on, so you can think about, okay, how do I handle this? And it's so fast. But when you start to do it, people will notice it. So we all go into a room with somebody who's difficult, expecting them to be difficult. So we're already geared up for this difficult person. So if we start to shift how, they might think you're difficult, you might think they're difficult. But if you change your response to somebody, they will subconsciously pick it up. So they'll lower their guard the next time. And again, you do that 2, 3, 4 times, all of the guards start to come down a little bit, and it's less pointy finger and who's to blame. Because you're not responding in the same way. So we all expect people to respond the same way to the same kinds of things. We're never surprised when somebody does that thing again. But if you change your response before it even starts, and you approach them in a slightly different way, they'll be like, they'll just think something weird's going on. And they might say, what's going on? But their subconscious will start to pick up and start to reduce their barriers, because we all do that. So it's fun when you get into it. It's fascinating, and if you can observe what's going on when you're doing this, you'll notice loads and loads of things.
It's interesting because I've been on projects and situations where we've had a difficult stakeholder that we've got to deal with, and the team will be beforehand, and me as well, very trying to predict what might happen because it was so unpredictable. So being ready for unpredictableness, and then kind of being in that, and then you step into a meeting on edge. You've probably done a lot of prep, that's fine, but you end up over preparing, over worrying, and it ends up not being what you thought it might be. And you kind of, oh, but then things would come out of left field when sessions that you think were nothing to worry about, they weren't contentious, and things would just go crazy. And it's that whole thing of people, isn't it? Perspective and where they're coming from, and you can't know, and therefore, and sometimes it can just be that's where they are. How you
it
deal
might
with
be
that is quite
nothing to
difficult, I
do
find.
with you and your project. They might have just
Yeah,
come from a really bad
yeah,
meeting, stuff's going on at home. But that
yeah.
being overly prepared and ready for the fight, their subconscious will pick it up.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. So yeah,
it's really obvious. There's always people that we can guess stuff about instantly. You can tell when someone's annoyed. You would pick up things from the way they're sitting. We're not conscious of it, but the brain picks it up and works it out and then tells you what to do. So they will pick up that they might not know it, they might not be conscious of it, but the brain's getting ready for battle because it can see that you're ready for battle. So there's a whole load of subtle stuff that, unless we're really observant, we don't notice. So the best thing to do is to notice you've been triggered, do one of the breathing exercises. I do the physiological sigh where you breathe in twice and then exhale through the mouth, and do that 2 or 3 times, and it switches your nervous system into the calmer state. So it's using your diaphragm to trick your brain into being calm, and then think, okay, this is triggered just now. I'm being micromanaged. My autonomy is being triggered. So what's not being triggered? And how do I focus the conversation on one of the things that aren't triggered? So I'm not focusing on stop micromanaging me. Why? Because it won't make it any better. You won't get a good result from it. You might feel good in the moment if you win the argument, but you won't feel good longer term because it's short lived.
Yeah, there is always that short-lived side of it. Yeah,
it's like the donut as a bribe. It's a very short-lived treat. You regret it later.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and you wander around in the next meeting thinking, "Oh no, I called him a what?" Yeah, but yeah, it's one of the things that I sit there thinking. You're saying about the fact that you can pick up on these non-verbals, you can pick up on, and when we're face to face, it's easier to pick up on those. But even so, even with tone of voice and with like we are now on the screen, you can pick up from just like mannerisms, but not if you've got video on there. But it's like I know when I've been in a situation where you will walk into a pub and you can feel something.
Yep, you can feel tension.
There's an edge to it.
Kick off.
Yeah. But you can't. You don't know what that is. But it's that animal brain in the back of you that is picking up on body language, picking up on vocal tone, picking up on volume, and all these different non-verbal things, and it amazes me how good we are at doing it. And then you sit there think, why am I feeling a bit not comfortable in this place?
Yeah.
And you don't know why. And you say, let's go somewhere else. And you go somewhere else. But I haven't done that for a long time. I don't get out that often nowadays. But but it's the same in a meeting, isn't it? You can go into a meeting and you can just feel, or into a conversation, and you can just feel there's so much skewed here.
Yeah.
And it isn't necessarily blatantly skewed either. It's just something that just doesn't feel right. The tone of the questions, the phrase of the questions that are coming out, or just the delivery or dismissiveness.
You might notice it. You can't go to a different pub because you're in a meeting, so you can't change where you are. So you have to change the environment that you're in to reduce that impact.
Yeah.
And then if you can shift it for you and your response, it will shift it for other people as well. So there will just be that subtle shift away. It's hard to do particularly in some meetings, but the best place to practice all this is at home because you know your family really well. So if somebody's a bit antsy and you're like, you want to respond to them, just kind of observe what's going on and shift your response. If somebody's stacked the dishwasher wrong, ask yourself, does it really matter? Do I really need to point that out again? Because it doesn't matter. And you feel rubbish, they feel rubbish. So practicing this stuff at home can really hone in your perception and your skills, and just slight subtleties of shifting where something will go, and you'll get much better outcomes and you'll be much calmer. I did this for a year, and it just, because I had to do it on me. And the hardest thing for me was I was the difficult stakeholder. I was the person saying, no, this is too risky. What if that goes? Because when you're thrown into chaos and you've got your brain starts to throw up all the doubts and all the things that could go wrong, it will focus on all the things that could go wrong because it can't imagine that it could be good. You can't feel what an unknown future will feel like because it's unknown.
Yeah.
But you can imagine all the things that would go wrong because those kind of things have happened before. So your brain will fill you. So your brain becomes that worst stakeholder. So you're having to do all this on yourself. You're having to battle yourself as that difficult person and shift yourself as that conversation, because otherwise your brain will win and it will try and keep you safe, and it tries to keep you safe by not making change happen. So practicing it on yourself or at home will really hone in those skills, and then work will be a breeze. You'll be like, and everyone will think, what's happened to you? You start smoking the wrong kind of cigarettes because you'll be so calm. It's honestly, it's been life changing.
I a book I listened to a few years ago, Steve Peters, The Chimp Paradox,
Yeah.
kind of talks about, and I'm not sure if you read it, but talks about you've got that inner chimp in there who is there just to give you pleasure and protect you. That's all it cares about. And you've got that computer that's got your lots of data, as you talked about there, about what has happened before, and when something similar to this is there, and some incorrect programming there that has done correlation instead of causality. And it's that thing, isn't it? As you say there, you've got that chimp who is taking that data, going and drawing correlation, drawing things, and then trying to protect you. And we all the time, we have to sit there going, how can we hang on? I need to convince my chimp to do this,
Yeah.
and that's the thing, isn't it? It's kind of that thing of right. Let's beat them over the head with a stick because they said that about me, and it's kind of hang on a minute. Well, if we do that, that's not going to be what we want. How do we do it? And that I can see how that internal monologue that you've got to do there of change. You're persuading that chimp, which essentially is you.
Yeah.
But then you're also doing it to yourself, and you can kind of, if you abstract it and think, right, how do I divert my chimp that's just kicked off? And abstract it to say, right, and give it a name if you've got it in your own head, and try to go, right, we're doing it because of this. We're not going to do that because of this, and kind of, but when, and just go, right, we're going to do this later. It's going to be fun. Okay, fine. Your brain's worried, thinking about that. And it can be as simple as that, can't it, really? It's kind of just that whole thing of remembering, actually, this meeting finishes in 10 minutes. I'm going to have a coffee with my mate.
Exactly.
You know what I
It's
mean?
a
That
very
could do it.
simple, yeah, it's a very simple process. It's really hard to do because your
Yeah.
brain's already, so
Yeah.
to notice what your brain's doing is my brain is coming up with all of these doubts. First thing is doubts aren't real.
Yeah.
They're just thoughts your brain's come up with. And now I need to convince myself that those doubts aren't going to, so treat them as risks.
Yeah.
What if a move from the city to the country is really lonely and really isolated? What could I do so that that never happens? And the more you do that, the more data you've got, the more your brain can go, okay, actually, it might be okay because you've now got more data to base it on that it will be all right.
Yeah.
So it's reducing the level of doubt and ignoring it sometimes and reframing as well. Reframing is hugely powerful. So just tell the same story in a different way. Like a great one, I was going to something a few months ago and somebody was coming along who I really didn't want to talk to. And I got into that, oh, they're going to ruin my day because it's going to be a really good day and they're just going to be there all the time. And I really don't want to talk to them and I won't be able to avoid them. And then I reframed it as this person was in my life at a point when I was doing some work with them and it meant I didn't have to go out and find new contracts. So it was sort of paying the bills without me having to think about selling new stuff. So it helped me in that difficult period. So I just reframed it to that. I'm still not that keen on this person, but at the time we worked together, it really helped me out of a sticky hole. So it
It was
reduced my
beneficial to you.
feelings, and then it was, we said hello and it was fine. I just managed to not spend too much of the day with them, but it shifted you could just feel the shift. So I didn't go into the
Yeah.
space going, oh, there they are. I just, it'd gone. That feeling had gone. So again, you can't change the thing, but you can change your response to it. So there's a great Scott Adams book on, I think it's Rewire Your Brain or Reframe Your Brain. I can't remember. I've given it away to somebody. But it's just full of retelling the story. He tells one about the dog. So we'd take the dog out for a walk, and the dog would be sniffing at the lamppost and all of, that stuff that dogs do. And he's wanting to walk. So he'd get really angry at the dog because he's wanting a morning walk. Like, come on. And I've done that myself. And then he was like, hang on, this is the dog's walk. So the dog should be allowed to do what the dog wants to do. And it just shifts the story. It stopped him shouting at the dog every morning because it wasn't about going for a long walk at a speed. It was just the dog getting out and having his dog walk in the morning. So retell the story in a different way and it will reduce the feelings, which then means your brain's more on logic mode, which means you can respond in a much better way. So if you've got an issue with the dishwasher being stacked, it always comes up. Ask yourself, does it really matter? And reframe it. as oh,
Yeah,
they've done it again,
yeah.
idiot.
It's interesting. It's the whole dishwasher thing. It seems to be one that comes up in a few places. And there's a um, interesting with my eldest, who I showed how to do the dishwasher the way that I do it in a very organized way, which when people know me, they kind of get surprised that that's the way I am with stuff like that. And there's a meme on Facebook, I think it is, it kind of go, there's two people in a household, one that stacks a dishwasher like a German engineer,
Yeah, I
and
saw
one
that
that stacks
yesterday.
it like a raccoon on crack or something like that. And most people would think it would be me that would be the one that would stack it that way, and my other half that would do it in the disorganized way. But it's the opposite, right? But it's the and it makes me think again. I'll go back to Parkrun and my Lutland. We were less so this time. I did a bit of reframing in the parkrun because last time we did it, she went to do parkrun. Her mate was coming along to do parkrun with her. I was going to have a free run on my own while they ran together. Her friend took off and she ran with me, so I couldn't do my go for a bit of a quicker time. Although I wouldn't have caught her friend anyway because she was quicker than me. But it was so that changed mine. I'm like, oh God. And then she was running, and then she was tired, and then it was kind of like, well, no, I'm running with her now. I'm not doing my park run. I'm running with her, and we're having time chatting together, running. Whilst I was still encouraging her. I know other times when we've gone to go together to run park run, and she really wasn't in the mood for it, and she was really wanting to walk. I was getting so frustrated and so annoyed that we weren't running and we weren't doing it like an idiot father. Whereas now, this time, I'm kind of like, but no, it's about running with her. It's not about running. It's about us spending time together. That's the reason we're doing that together. We have a laugh, we have a giggle, and we're running at the same time. We're enjoying it. We're getting the fresh air. Go and have a bacon sandwich afterwards. That that framing of it, whereas I could just get annoyed because she isn't running and trying to do the best, fastest time, and I didn't get to do my run and all that. And it's so easy and those things are all in my head.
Mhm.
But I'd kind of, by default, as you say, you're doing it at home. Where you went, oh,
Yeah,
actually, well, this is what this is about. What this is really about is about spending time, not about running fast.
yeah.
I'm just looking at the time, and I'm seeing we're coming up on an hour nearly, and we've hardly talked about your book. And it's coming in a few weeks. So I even did preparation, which is not like me. Like as I said to you, I got Copilot to have a look at your book and work out some questions about being efficient, being
So
effective,
what
and all that.
questions it's come up with?
Well, yeah, I thought I'd pick one out, see what. So it asks about the inspiration behind the book. Well, that's fine. You covered that, didn't you? It talked about, and then it says change ninja concept. Can you explain the change ninja concept? Well, you've kind of talked about that and how you came up with the idea and how it evolved over time. I think you covered that. Actually, listen to the previous episode interview, and people will be able to hear all about that. Personal challenge. You mentioned significant life-changing events. You've mentioned that and how you used your changing skills. Practical tools. Book includes various tools and techniques for managing change. Where you talked about the scarf technique and about what we've done there.
Oh, growth
So
mindset,
just,
reframing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, all that balancing of emotions and logic, reframing, and again that helps with that. Uh, Real life application. Can you share a story with the reader, someone who you know successfully applied these techniques? Well, you talk about yourself doing that, haven't you? And what
Well,
next for you
I
and
did it,
upcoming
yeah,
projects and books?
indeed. And I recently ran a session on dating, which is completely random. But there is a chapter in the book on dating. It's called Tinderella. It's my favourite chapter. Um, if anyone's venturing into the internet world, get in touch. Internet dating world.
Right.
So I ran, it's project management, but I used a tool that I use for if you're trying to make big changes in life. So if you're trying to look for a new career or a new job, we quite often, our brain will jump to the automatic easy thing. And I used this years ago when it was like, I wanted to leave my job, but what do I do next? And I was like, work-life balance is really important. And we've got into this mindset of 9 to 5 and, you don't take your work home with you, but that's not work-life balance. because that's putting things in boxes. It's not balanced. So it's, it's actually, I don't want to be traveling too much. I want the freedom to be able to work when I'm in the mood for work and take time off when I want to do my hobbies and that kind of thing. So there's a tool I use called 5 Eyes. So it just lets you look at the thing you're trying to change in through very different lenses. And it will give you a much better sense of what you actually want. Because when you're trying to make a big change, whether it's, internet dating or a new job or a new career, you will look at the things that worked for you last time because you've already got that data. So your brain will focus on the things it already knows. I really like this about my job. I really don't like that. It will focus on all the things. It will focus on, what you liked about your ex, what you didn't like about your ex. Because again, it can't imagine something completely different, particularly if you're changing career. It can't really imagine you going from being a project manager to being a vet because, so looking at it through different lenses will just give you much, much more data to be able to make a better decision. And then I use another tool called Is One, where you look at, okay, these are my options. What's going to happen next if I choose them? So not what's the outcome, not what the benefits are, but what will physically happen next if I make this decision? How will I feel immediately? What are the activities I'm going to have to do immediately? So the 5 lenses gives you much more data, and then you'll come up with options, and then you can work through them to see what's the best answer. But it's really hard to do that yourself because again you're fighting your own brain. So your brain will keep saying this is good, this is good, this is bad, this is bad. And somebody on the course, so I pitched it as a dating thing, but we had people on looking for new jobs and careers, and somebody was focused on salary. I need to earn this salary. And I was like, that's the wrong lens to look at because you're looking at the top line salary. And it might be just now you have to commute to work, but you could get a job where you don't need to commute to work. It might be just now you live in an expensive area when you could actually move house and live in a less expensive area. So it's looking, and it would just give you data. How much money do you actually need versus what salary do you have? Because sometimes a lower salary is not that much different when you take into account all the things and the tax and all of that. So it's a tool that helps you just go, okay, I'm looking at it from the wrong angle. I need to look at this bit in more detail. And it will get rid of the things that you think are really important that actually aren't. But your brain's just jumped to the things it thinks is important based on the past.
Brilliant. I think it's that imagining something. Your brain's really good at imagining bad things,
Yeah.
not very good at imagining good things. I find sometimes it can be, but it's that whole thing of thinking what might it be like on that. And again, things like you talk about salary there and about the fact that there's a lot of status attached to that. And you'll have status on the fact that when you're moving to another role, you want more. It's always a scarcity kind of mindset, isn't it? You want more. And actually, that's because you'll be able to, in your brain, and not everyone to say, but a lot of people will be in that situation. You say, well, I'm earning this much, which gives me a level of status in my mind for whatever reason it be. If you're a kid of the 80s like me, like big bucks earning money, being a yuppie, that was a big thing about what people were aspiring to, and that kind of approach does mean that there is a hook on that financial value all the time. But then actually, what you want to do with it and what you want afterwards, you kind of go, well, actually, no, does it? Can I still achieve it? And it's really interesting. Just that lens switch is powerful because I know I've done some of that with when I had some cognitive based therapy, and that there was kind of techniques similar to that about looking at it and going, right, okay, actually, what is the real situation here? Step back, write down what that real situation, what you really need, what you really want, whether it be in your health or in your relationships or whatever, and
It's
rather than
just,
what you think you want.
yeah, some of it's slowing it down as well because we don't
Mm.
see things at normal speed. So I went on, I've got dogs. So when I started dating, it was like, they must like dogs. And I went on a date and someone said they really like dogs. And we had a really nice time. And I was kind of thinking on the way home, I'll maybe meet up with him again. And then I played it down at a slower speed. I just watched the whole thing again. And I noticed that they'd not paid any attention to the dogs. So I was like, there's no point. So they might like dogs, but there's a difference between thinking dogs are all right and actually wanting dogs. So I was binned. So it just saved me loads of time. I could have gone on 2, 3, 4 dates before that kind of emerged and just wasted all that time and effort and energy and emotion that goes with all of that stuff, because it does wear you down if you do it too much. So it was just like I just slowed the whole date down and went, doesn't like dogs, so there's no point. And it kind of, the rest didn't matter because it was a non-compromise. So
Yeah.
knowing what your absolute non-compromises are for a job or a career or whatever it is, and just having 2 or 3 and going, it doesn't meet that need, so it's gone. It will just save you loads of time and energy.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And it works in
Well,
dating.
as is, yeah, so people need that. Then lots of people out there
People
probably
want to
do
know
on
what
this call.
happened. They need to buy the book.
Read the book. Yeah, yeah, and that'll be. So let's get onto that. And obviously, when is the book out? I know that actually I know when the book out because I got invited to a launch party today, a
The
virtual
book's
launch party which I
on
signed up to.
29th of October it's released, and the book launch is on the 30th of October. So if this goes out before then and anyone wants to come to the virtual book launch, I can get in touch and see if there's any tickets left.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there'll
we'll
be
see if we can get it
discounts
out
galore.
before then. Cool.
That's the bribery. The donut.
Yeah, there's your
It's a one
bribery.
off.
Yeah,
Okay.
for your record breaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's brilliant. And what remind people of the title?
It is The Change Ninja Returns, and this time it's personal.
There you go. And it has a quote from Dawn French's The Twat Files in the front of it, so you can tell the style of what we're going to get there. Some straight
Take
talking,
that out,
some
actually.
entertaining.
Yeah.
Oh, your version you sent me
I
had it in.
know. There's something to do with copyright or something, which I was surprised at for
Uh,
quotes, but I had to take it out. But
yeah.
that was my source
Oh well.
quote. But
Yeah.
yes, you
Okay.
need. I think it was something to do with just find you,
That's
laugh at
it.
yourself. Have you got it there?
Don't. Yeah, I've got it in front of me. Don't let shame hamper you. Don't conceal your mistakes. Instead, wear them like badges for all to see. It's a massively liberating experience to openly admit and tell.
It
So there you
is.
go.
And if you tell it in a funny way, 10 years' time when you're remembering it, you'll just laugh because you'll remember the emotion of humour rather than the emotion of shame. It's a magic trick. It's
Yeah.
like, honestly, it's a magic bullet. Laugh at everything
Brilliant.
and you'll remember it
Yeah.
as being funny. And you'll feel the humour when you remember a story rather than feel the shame or the upset or the, oh no, I can't believe I did that. I don't have any shame because I've always done that. There's nothing I go, oh no. Because I've always turned into a funny story. Well, it makes me
Yeah.
laugh.
That's a really good. Yeah. I'll see if I can do that myself as well. Try and do some of that. I've probably got quite a few to be able to tell. Well, as I said, thank you very much for coming on the show, Tammy. And if people, obviously, we've got a few things going on. If people want to get in touch, want to follow some of the stuff that you're doing, continue the conversation, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
So Tammy at change-ninja.com or the website www.change-ninja.com or LinkedIn. There's only one of me
Brilliant.
on LinkedIn, and there's a newsletter on there. You can subscribe to the newsletter. And I'm going to be running some events from the middle of October as well, weekly events. So if anyone's interested in that, they can get in touch and sign up for those.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for coming on the show. Fascinating and educating conversation and entertaining conversation as ever. You have a brilliant rest of your evening. And
Thank you.
yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. See you later.
So it should be up telling us it's uploading any minute as it's stopping. It says it's stopping rather than stop. How was that?
That was good. We could witter on forever, I think.
Yeah. I know. That's good. It makes it easy, an easy conversation like that. Sometimes with some of these, I'm at 20 minutes in and thinking, Jesus Christ, how am I going to drag this out? Which doesn't always happen. So that's still saying it's stopping and not stopped. That's unusual of what it's doing, because it appears that it is still recording. Yeah, because normally it does that quite quickly. We'll see. Oh, I don't know.
Thank you. What about the 20th, the week before? And then I can like repost it all the week before. Okay. Okay. 13th and 20th. Perfect. It's still uploading. It says it's still recording as well. Still got the flashing record button on. So, because we talk too much. Try doing it. It's not. Don't have the option to stop. Okay. It's getting close to uploaded. Oh no, the uploaded bit keeps going up because it's still recording.
And I'm sure you enjoyed the second part of that interview with Tammy. Just between the last recording of this and this one, I got my copy of the Change Ninja Returns. This time it's personal. Grab your copy. I think it comes out 28th of October. Good luck, Tammy, on the launch. And the only other thing, 7th of November, coming up in a couple of weeks, we have the PMI Synergy event happening in the UK in Welwyn Garden City. There is a code that if you go on there, you can get 25% discount. Sunday lunch PM 24. It'll be in the show notes. In the meantime, look after yourself and see you next week. Bye. So I have a number of sponsors, affiliate links in the way that it's set up that have kindly allowed me to share their services, really. The first one is Mike Clayton, and Mike runs online PM courses, and it is a great resource for getting those fundamentals of project management trained, reasonably priced, and Mike presents it in an accessible and clear manner. You can check out some of his videos on his YouTube channel and kind of give you a view of where they are. But the code for that, if you go to nigelcreaser.com/online PM courses, all one word, lowercase, that'll redirect you to it. There's very different levels that you can buy. You can buy individual courses, you can buy pathways as well, if you like. And I get a kickback off those. Mike kindly shares me of that. So if you do jump on and use it, I hope you find it really useful. I think he has money back guarantees and things like that as well. So there's very limited risk on that. So jump on that, and that again, it's nigelcreaser.com/online PM courses, and enjoy. Well, it's goodbye from me, Nigel Creaser, and it's goodbye from him, the Sunday Lunch PM. Goodbye.